How's it going, everybody? Bryan Alvarez here on Wrestling Observer Live. We're here every day, Monday through Friday. Where am I here? I wasn't here yesterday, but I'm here today, and it is Fun Friday here on the program. And we got a lot to get into here today. Valentine's Day as well. Man, a Valentine's Day, a Fun Friday. We actually have some nice news to open up the show. And we'll take your phone calls, emails, and etc. Yes, perhaps phone calls in the final segment of this show. If you want to contact us, 425-780-7566 is the text message line. Don't call. It's a text message line. 425-780-7566. F4WOnline@gmail.com. F4W Online, Threads, Instagram, and Cameo. Yes, Valentine's cameos still available. And at Bryan Alvarez X and Blue Sky. We got a lot of news today, including the Wrestling Observer Newsletter Awards. Of course, a lot of people talking about those. Update on Chris Bey, and it's good news. So we'll tell you about that as we get the show started here today. Also got notes on where WrestleMania likely is next year. We got some Dynamite and NXT ratings. Big weekend of shows with the Collision, the Australia Collision show tomorrow, as well as the NXT PLE. Demolition, they're back in WWE, hopefully with their theme. Michelle McCool going into the Hall of Fame, and a lot of other news as well. So a lot to get into here on the show today. Mike Sempervive is going to join us, and you can as well. So drop us a line, 425-780-7566. That's the text message line. Or F4WOnline@gmail.com. And later on in the program, if we have time, we shall open up those phone lines. So stick around, everybody. Back in a moment with more Wrestling Observer Live here on the Sports Byline Broadcasting Network. Green Hill. Hello. He's escaped. Do you know which way he was headed? Okay, thank you. Thank you very much.
Shoulders. He's been here.
straitjacket.
You're getting close.
Back in the show, Bryan Alvarez here, wrestling. I see people are already arguing about the Observer Awards.
I'm having fun. It's Fun Friday for me, I can tell you that.
Well, let's get the real fun news out of the way, then I'll talk about those, so these blokes can keep... Anyway, in a first update directly from Chris Bey, since suffering a devastating injury in October, he revealed everything about the injury, the subsequent surgery, and most importantly, a video showing him able to stand up and walk. Something he said he was given a 10 to 25% chance to ever do again. He said he was laid out paralyzed in the middle of the ring during a match with him and Ace Austin versus the Hardys October 27th in Detroit. It was the scariest moment of his life. He couldn't get up. He was embarrassed, ashamed, and scared, rushed to the nearby hospital. He underwent surgery to fuse his C6, C7, C6, and T1. His neck and his spinal cord. If it weren't for TNA and their quick reaction to the accident, might not be here today, he wrote. Woke up the next day, overwhelmed by support. He was paralyzed from the neck down. They told him 10 to 25% chance he'd ever walk again. He said everyone sent him messages. He apologized for not responding because he could not use his hands. Spent a week in the ICU. Was moved to a Detroit spinal cord rehab facility. Underwent therapy 3 hours a day or longer for 6 days a week. Went home December 28th, 2 months after suffering the injury. He is continuing therapy. He thanked his girlfriend, medical personnel, the fans, anyone who reached out, donated. He said Thursday was his 29th birthday, and so he shared the video of him getting up and walking. He said he'd been out of his wheelchair for 3 weeks learning to walk again. Said, I am so grateful to be alive. Don't know what my purpose is. I know there's something meant for me to do. For now, I just hope to continue to heal as my body is still in a lot of pain. Going to be a long road. I will not give up. This will be the greatest story ever told. I love you all. So, nothing like having great news to start out a fun Friday. All the best to Chris Bey. It was an awesome video. You can go up there and see it on his Instagram. And read his entire thing that he wrote. Just wonderful news to start out today.
Hallelujah to that. Beautiful.
And now I guess we can all get in fights again.
Well, you know how it goes.
Well, I want to say this first because twice a year this happens. And it is without fail. Twice a year. It happens when the Observer Awards come out. And it happens when the Hall of Fame comes out. And it's every year. It's like Groundhog Day. Every year. Everybody gets mad at Dave. It's Dave's fault that such and such won this award. I can't believe Dave gave such and such this award. I can't believe Dave put this person in the Hall of Fame and not someone else. Fellas.
Darn it, Dave.
Bro, it's the Observer Awards. They're voted upon by thousands of people. It's a vote. The guy gets one vote. The Hall of Fame, it's voted on by hundreds of people. Dave gets one vote. Now, if you want to argue, because I kind of feel this way, like before the Hall of Fame voting, Dave always wants to do a show and he wants to talk about all the candidates and who he thinks should go in and not. And I don't know about that. I prefer not to do those because you are sort of influencing people. It's the Observer. The Observer readers are all listening to it. You're telling them who you think should go in and who shouldn't and what would be a travesty. So I don't think that necessarily we should do a preview of the Hall of Fame. If you want to talk about who went in afterwards and talk about all that, that's fine. They're in. But as far as but at the end of the day, it's still, you all got your own vote. It's up to you. You pick. So if you're mad about the voting, you can get mad at the readers. But to get mad at Dave because a certain whatever went in or didn't go in, well, you're you're an idiot. Because he doesn't give the awards away. This isn't PWI. Even PWI, I think, had voting, didn't they?
They do, and they get ripped for them now, too. Look, back in the day, especially for somebody like me who grew up on the magazines and didn't really have an interest at all when it came to newsletters and things like that, the end-of-year awards were a nice little novelty thing that, okay, haha, it's a special edition. I agree with this. I don't agree with this. Okay, great. You throw it to the side and you keep moving on. As time has gone on, because of media, lists have become a thing. Top fives, top tens. Is Patrick Mahomes the GOAT right now? Is it Tom Brady? I don't know. Let's let his career play out first. But we can't do that. We got to have these things because it fills time and because people will then get all upset about it and then start throwing mud at each other, and it's content, and that's all it is. And that's what people are doing with Dave for a long time. Look, number one, it's the newsletter readers that he has. If you go back and look at the history of those awards, you will see promotions get named as promotion of the year that only people that had to, and this was pointed out, I think it was by Lucha Blog, by Cubs fan. You will look at that stuff and go, who saw that? Well, it was tape traders and people that were reading the newsletter. So, okay, it's these people still today that visit the newsletter and read the newsletter and visit the website, and they're voting on this. It's a small amount of people in the grand scheme of things. I think the outrage that comes over this is either performative because people wanted to create content, or two, you're insane. It's not that big of a deal. Who cares?
This guy goes, subscribers are going to line up with the values of you and Dave, though. Have you been on our board? Have you been on the chat? Have you listened? Come on. Everyone has their own thoughts on everything. And I'm going to go over all of the results here. And, you know, there's only a few that it's like, I don't know about that one. But you all have your own opinion. The Wrestler of the Year, the Ric Flair Award, went to Cody. I don't have any problem with that. He was the number one guy in the number one promotion. Cody Rhodes won, essentially, the Wrestler of the Year.
Sure.
I'm not going to do the MMA ones because I don't follow it. Most Outstanding Wrestler went to Will Ospreay. That's a perfectly fine choice. There were a lot of good other wrestlers there. Bryan Danielson was number 2, Takeshita number 3, Zack Sabre Jr. 4, Sarray 5. But a Will Ospreay pick, I mean, he ran away with it. I mean, first place votes, he got 767 compared to second place Bryan Danielson with 85. So he ran away with that one. And then we had the Tag Team of the Year, and it was won by the Young Bucks. And I disagree with this one. And I have watched a lot of Young Bucks matches over the years. And I think they are a Hall of Fame tag team. They are one of, if not the best tag teams I've ever seen in my life. However, in 2024, they were not the best tag team of the year. The best tag team of the year was Nathan Frazier and Axiom. And they came in second, and it was really, really close. The Young Bucks, I mean, there was a large portion of the year that they weren't even on television. You know, the matches they had were great, but, like, I'm never going to forget Axiom and Nathan Frazier's 2024. They had one incredible match after another. It didn't matter the team. I mean, they were absolutely incredible. They should have won. They did not. Such is life.
Yes, they were awesome. They were the tag team of the year, in my opinion, too. And I think the Young Bucks is kind of funny when you consider all of these tag teams. But you know what? This is not a blue ribbon panel of experts. It's a bunch of people that are voting, and they probably watched more AEW than NXT.
Well, I'm sure that's exactly what happened. They made a big mistake not watching that NXT show. Best on interviews was Drew McIntyre, which I can't say is like, I'll just put it this way. I never thought of it.
He was best on social media.
There's a lot of people that are really good with interviews, but honestly, when I think back, like going 10 years and looking back at the 2023, 2024 period, and I guess maybe, let's see, 2024, Yeah, you know what? It was absolutely 2024. The Rock was the best on interviews by miles. That period from January through WrestleMania, where every week he'd be in the gym and he'd cut those promos that they had to edit wildly to get on television. Dude, that guy was, I think some people forgot because he was gone after WrestleMania. Rock was miles above everybody in the business. Miles above. Back in a moment. Observer Live.
Means a lot, Oos. I think the company going forward with me, they trust me now. And I'm not gonna let them down. There was some heavy hitters in there. I was a heavy hitter too. And like John says, my time's now, man. My time is now. And I was screaming that out there the whole night, man. It's my turn. It's my turn. And y'all gonna see it. Y'all gonna see it. I'm just gonna go up from here, man. This yeet train is just now getting started, Oos. I'm telling you. Y'all let me rock, man. Let me keep cooking. Yeet. Emotional. I'm in there face to face. The crowd going crazy. It is kind of crazy because I can't hear nobody but him, me and him in there. And before we start getting the rocking, man, I'm happy for you, Oos. Like, I enjoy the little real things that happen in there that slide through. I take it to heart, man. And I never would have thought it'd be, me and John Cena, Oos, the final two. His ass almost got me twice in there, but I'm glad though. I'm very glad it was John Cena. It feels great, Oos. I'm the definition, Oos, of real hard work. I ain't never complained. Just went to work every day, Oos. I said it out there like I'm like a tag team guy. Ain't nobody see me coming. No one saw this coming. I just stick to the code, man. Love what I do, respect the locker room, and it'll all come back to you 10 times forward. And that's what happened tonight, Oos. And I felt love. I felt energy, man. I really feel love when the WWE Universe looks at me. They see, man, I'm gonna root for this dude. Even if you've never watched our product before, I just want to bring out like positivity, Oos, energy, man, especially for the kids. And it's all working, man. So I'ma still come out the mud, even though I got it now. Oos, I still same mentality. I'm about to take it. Oos. I'm about to take it over. I'm about to take over. And it was, you know what? I was screaming like, when I win the Royal Rumble 2025 Royal Rumble, I was screaming Gunther. But once you really like when it's in concrete right now, and it's after the Rumble, and I really want it, man, I'm looking at both of them like, all right, well, we're gonna eat here. I mean, I don't know, man, but I would like one more crack at Gunther, and I really feel like I can beat Gunther.
Back in the show, Bryan Alvarez here, Wrestling Observer Live. This needs to be about a 6-hour show to talk about this next one. Promotion of the year, WWE won. They more than doubled second place, which was AEW. And third place, CMLL. Fourth place, New Japan. Fifth place, Stardom. And, of course, the folks that hate WWE are very angry. Very angry. And the fact of the matter is, I heard everyone in the book. How did WWE win when they also won worse this, worse that, worse this, worse that? Dude, AEW won a lot of worse this and that too, and they came in second. Like, that's number one. Number two, they've been the biggest promotion in the world since 2001. Well, they didn't win every year. And yes, they have been the biggest promotion of the world since 2001. But, like, you can look at, how did they do year over year this year compared to last year? They lit their business on fire. And at the end of the day, the point of the promoter, the booker, like the whole point is to convince your fans that you're the best. Not the fans that don't like you. Your job is to convince your fans that you're the best. And this year, WWE convinced their fans that they were the best, and they ran away with this award. And, that's it. And
you didn't need 6 hours, see?
Well, there's just I heard a lot of people like it should have been Stardom. And then of course it was blaming Dave. Dave doesn't cover Stardom enough, and so people didn't realize how they turned their in this and that. And this is not Dave's fault. This isn't Dave's fault. Dave has covered New Japan forever. And the fact of the matter is, if people in this country didn't or were unaware of what was going on in Stardom, it's not Dave's fault, okay? New Japan, remember when New Japan absolutely caught fire amongst US fans in 2019?
Oh, I do.
It wasn't because Dave started covering New Japan more. He's always covered New Japan. It was because New Japan made a lot of moves, one of which, I know people aren't going to like this, but it was Don Callis and Chris Jericho and the whole, all of that. That was one of the things. They sold tons of New Japan Strong subscriptions based on that Chris Jericho, Kenny Omega match. And, they made moves to get, to raise their whatever here in the U.S. And Stardom hasn't done that yet. And so you can't say it's not because it was covered enough, it's Dave's fault, this or that. These are the votes. This is what people chose as best promotion. And the funny thing is, when people are talking about, they got a lot of votes with worst show and this and that and worst match or whatever. What's funny about the business nowadays?
What's that?
There aren't bad shows anymore. I don't know if some people are new or not, but we're old and there used to be bad shows.
Yeah,
where there's nothing but bad matches and bad booking and bad angles, and it just the shows sucked, okay? Now, what you have are you got great shows, okay? The New Japan show the other day was a great show. AEW, they're usually going to have a great show. And, WWE, at worst nowadays, the show's going to be that's fine. All the matches were good, but there was nothing great. There was no giant angle or whatever. But you're never going to see a WWE show with the talent that everybody has all over the world now. You will never see a show that sucks. It doesn't happen.
But it does. Look, everything is relative, but and subjective as well. But that's what makes Triple Mania shows and NWA. What was it, Salmon? That's what makes those shows stand out, because at least, okay, you get a great match, or something was so terrible it was funny, or something like that. But when you have a show at a certain level of a promotion, for the most part nowadays, you're going to get something out of it. You can glean a silver lining out of almost anything nowadays, whereas before, in the past, oftentimes you couldn't, for a variety of different reasons.
Well, we'll get to it when we get to it, but there's a shining example of how really this business has just changed so much that the voting for stuff like worst show and this and that, it's not what it used to be. Best weekly TV show, Dynamite won. They beat SmackDown, Raw, CMLL, AEW Collision, NXT.
Oh, look, CMLL's Friday night shows are cool and everything, and they're very easy to enjoy, but this is one of those other cases where I'm surprised when it came to Dynamite. I'll just assume everybody split their WWE, Raw, and SmackDown vote. But then again, who knows? I certainly don't think Dynamite was the best show of the year, but again, this is one of those ones that everybody is flinging mud about, where at the end of the day, again, does it really matter?
Well, I have no problem with Dynamite winning, because you can see, if you watch all of the shows, it's like I said, SmackDown is never bad, I mean, sometimes it's boring and it's way too long right now.
Oh, yeah, well,
but
this year SmackDown won't win anything at 3 hours.
It's the same thing with Raw. Like, Raw was never bad, but it wasn't like every Raw had at least one blow-away great match. Whereas with Dynamite, whatever you thought of the booking or whatever, almost always there was going to be at least one Dynamite match on Dynamite, and sometimes more. So, wrestling fans are voting. And it's not like there's anything, I never found anything wrong with Raw and SmackDown over the last year, but they could just be there. They'd be good. NXT, I don't know, man. That one was the one that was really hit and miss. I was like, sometimes you'd have some horrific stuff on that show, and sometimes you'd have awesome stuff, like Axiom and Nathan Frazier, or Trick was super over. But
I really liked that show as the middle point of what can be really good and really awful at the same time. And it's kind of what the show's designed for anyway. Yes, now it is a network show and there's more pressure on it and it's a little more, they're looking at it a little bit differently. But the fact that you could have such a mix of different levels of experience, especially, and all of that sort of stuff, I mean, it's designed to kind of be all over the place, by its nature because of who's there.
Then we have the match of the year, which was Ospreay and Bryan Danielson, which took place by, not quite, but close, 10 times the number of first-place votes as number 2. 552 first-place votes. Number 2, Danielson and Swerve got 63. So that was the match of the year.
You know what I'm really surprised about? Because maybe I thought it could have helped the Young Bucks, those people that were thinking about the Young Bucks as tag team of the year. But I bet you if you would have held this voting 8 months ago, Darby Allin and Sting against the Young Bucks, I'm surprised.
Well, they were number 3.
Yeah, I'm surprised that was not, didn't get more first place votes. It seems like that one ran away with it big time.
Well, because Will Ospreay and Bryan Danielson had that match. I don't think a
well.
lot of people, I mean, it was an awesome match, but I don't think there were, and clearly there were not a lot of people that thought Sting and Darby versus the Young Bucks was better than Bryan Danielson
It was,
and Will
it was a
Ospreay.
more fun spectacle, that's for sure, I think, to me.
It would have won Best on Retirements.
Best moment, I guess it could have been.
And then we got to the MVP. And again, what is the MVP? The most valuable person for their company. So the winner for the U.S. and Canada was Cody Rhodes. It is undeniable, okay? It's undeniable.
Hey, wait.
Carried that company. Yes, undeniable. Japan was Zack Sabre Jr.
Sure.
I mean...
Look, he was a rock of consistency if you were a New Japan fan, and the problem you have is, were there other people that you could point out and say they were great and all?
Well,
Japan
yes,
and
number
Noah?
2, Naito. I mean, he was the most over guy in the biggest Japanese company.
Yeah.
Even though he could barely move.
But that's the thing. I guess it depends on how you want to view that award. And there is a Wrestler of the Year award and a Most Valuable Player, obviously, but still, I don't know. He's most valuable to merchandise, but the problem with him is because he can't move, how valuable can you be in putting guys over and having good matches and being something people want to look forward to, where now, unfortunately, because of the year he had, people just want Naito to kind of retire or at the very least not get hurt.
Mexico MVP was Mystico. A European MVP was Michael Oku. No problem with either of those.
By the way, that's another one, too, that I think that Mexican fans will look at and go, people are voting Mystico because they know the name and things like that. But again, what do you expect? People cannot be in the weeds and watching, matches from Nakalapan every Sunday,
And he actually was. There's also that. I don't think there was a more valuable player in Mexico this year. Who would it be?
Mascara Dorada? Mascara Dorada?
I don't know.
He had a really great year. I mean, he absolutely did. So,
Non-heavyweight MVP was Darby. I think that's an easy one. Women's wrestling MVP was Sarray, who beat Rhea Ripley and Toni Storm.
Well,
and those
by
three
the
were
way,
very close.
For anybody that's complaining then about Stardom not making the promotion of the year, you just have an outsider who wrestles independently and mostly on Marigold shows actually get the Women's Wrestler of the Year award.
We had the feud of the year, which was won by CM Punk and Drew McIntyre.
I'm in. Sure, I'll take it.
It was a great feud, but
They
I don't
didn't
know.
even have to wrestle. They just talked.
It seems recency bias because Cody versus the Bloodline is actually what completely blew up this year, but it was mostly the first part of the year. Anyway, more after the break. Observer Live. We did, in fact, by popular demand, watch Ready to Rumble.
The champion is some fat loser.
Yeah, he's a completely talentless, no athletic ability, can't wrestle, broke bum that walked out on his wife and kid.
But he
and
was
he's
over.
the world champion.
He
and
was.
in the movie, the
Well, yeah, but
storyline
that's a
is-
microcosm of wrestling, sadly.
Yes.
He feels so bad about drinking this entire slushy that cost $1.26, and he sticks his finger in his asshole and walks up to the clerk.
Lance is dying. How could the movie be so bad?
I'm not going to fault the man for that, of all the things in the movie.
I thought for
okay?
sure you were going to say you'd done this before.
There's a reason I'm not going to fault the man for that.
I just think with all the porta potties and farting in this, that I think Vince McMahon was a secret producer on this film. Had to have been.
So then we get the Shermanator. He's playing a WCW arcade game. He uses some internet sleuthing to find the personal information of Jimmy King.
He's searching the internet. Gonna find out anything on here. This movie was so antiquated. Every Nitro Girl is in a Nitro Girl outfit, except for this girl. They had her
want
dance
her
in something
to stand
totally
out,
different.
Brian, like the captain.
So we're so stupid. I got it.
Captain
Yes,
Stavin.
if you're watching this film, you're that stupid. I'm sorry.
But I was also insulted by the fact they hired Michael Buffer to announce the Royal Bash, the fake-ass Royal Bash.
$24 million budget.
Wow.
And probably 500,000 of that went to Michael Buffer. It made 12. You know, we
He
should mention
unveils-
this cage match is the triple-decker Cage of Doom. Everybody buried it. It was horrible. Everybody hated it. And so they decided to make a movie. And what is the final battle? It's another goddamn triple-decker cage match. This would be like in 2010 if like TNA made a movie and the final match was a reverse battle royal.
They throw powder in someone's face, DDP's, I think, or somebody's, and the dude just looks at it and goes, "It doesn't work." It's like, of course, because wrestling's fake and stupid.
Should we just end it there? What a soundbite. There has never been a movie I have watched in my entire life which has made me hate myself more.
Wow.
I'm ashamed that I'm even in the place at 41 years old where I would end up reviewing this movie for money. I would have thought I would have made it out of here by now. You know what I mean? I'm done.
Well, everyone, hopefully we can do this again someday. Instead of suffering through the YouTube chat, click like and subscribe. After many years, I like to think I personally convinced Dave to remove the voting aspect from Best Box Office Draw. It's like, well, who is? I mean, a bunch of people vote for Miz. I mean, it's ridiculous. So anyway, Cody was the best box office draw, followed by The Rock and Roman Reigns.
That
Don't think you can
award-
argue any of that.
I think that award should go by the wayside. You can at least have numbers when it comes to boxing or martial arts where you can kind of compare and contrast some people. But when it comes to WWE at this point, I mean, it's going to be real hard. And I don't care how much AEW grows, it is going to be very difficult to try to compete with WWE as far as what box office is, because, again, when you're the biggest bank, you can have a bunch of terrible shows and it doesn't matter. You're still going to draw incredibly well. So that's one of those awards that when it comes to pro wrestling, I mean, it comes down to the bottom line, and we know what WWE's bottom line is, a publicly traded company, and they're worth billions.
Then we had I don't like this category. Most improved. like, the title of it tells you who actually improved the most. And what it becomes is, well, who wasn't getting pushed and then was pushed later?
Who got better
You're
booked?
telling me Kyle Fletcher improved drastically? And of course he didn't. But he was the winner here.
You know what?
I mean,
At
of the
least-
names, it's like, it's Harley Cameron, Lash Legend, Obafemi. I mean, those are the three that, like, from the beginning of the year to the end of the year, they actually dramatically improved, as opposed to Kyle Fletcher showed up and was incredible, but wasn't being pushed. And then they let him get pushed, and he was still incredible, and so now he won Most Improved.
I think maybe that's because, people look at him taking the ball and running with it, and he went through a couple of changes in his look, and he was still fine. The matches are great. All of that stuff people have taken to him. You know, AEW fans believe in him. So all of that stuff combined, okay, great. Yeah, he has improved his standing, but again, it leaves it open to interpretation because, like Obafemi, he just started learning, and we've seen him on TV. It's like, I mean, is he really the most? I mean, it's just, to me, I don't know how you determine this stuff. It should probably be who's most pushed, who should be over pushed, and who I don't know. There's a better way to do it.
I will say this because I will present the winner, the actual winner right now. The Most Improved was, I think, without any question, Lash Legend, because I can count on maybe, actually, I'm sure I could count on one hand in the entire history of my pro wrestling fandom. I can count on one hand the people that I have seen early on in their career who I actually thought, this person will never be good. It is impossible. They are so absolutely atrocious, completely lost. They will never, ever be any good whatsoever. One of them, by the way, was Nigel McGuinness. But Lash Legend, and look, I see everybody in developmental. I see everybody when they first appear in NXT TV. And out of everybody, you can name all of the people on NXT TV, there is one that I watched her and I was like, never. She will never be any good. She is so horrible that it is impossible. And now she is ready for the main roster. So that, to me, is by far Most Improved.
But can I shoot this young lady some bail?
And hold on, wait. This person goes, Jada Parker is more improved than Lash. No. When Jada Parker debuted, it was already like, man, they got something here. Same with Kalani Jordan. It was like, they got something here. When Lash debuted, it was like, she's on TV because she's really tall, but like, there's no way she's going to make it.
But
it's
also,
impossible.
You remember why? Because she could talk her butt off. And at least Kalani and Jada had a little bit of time. They put her on with almost no experience, no matches whatsoever at all. So, I mean, that's the one thing, too, is, did she get better? There was nowhere else to go but up. I mean, there really was. So, I mean, why they put her on TV so incredibly early, I have absolutely no idea. They did the same thing to Jakara Jackson, but they have improved great. And, I mean, physically, that's the one thing Lash Legend has, is not only does she got a great rap when she's in front of the microphone, but she can pull off power moves, which is important on the main roster.
This guy says Logan Paul has to be in for a shout. No, that's the problem with this category. Logan Paul is nowhere near the Most Improved. His very first match was one of the best first matches anyone's ever had. We were talking about someone who was like, they were horrible, and over the course of a year, they improved dramatically. That's what the category is supposed to be. And most of these names, it's like Kyle Fletcher, David Finlay. David Finlay sucked at the beginning of the year, but now he's good.
I know, really.
Gabe Kidd, Swerve. Like, none of these people improved drastically. They just got pushed harder. Then we've got
you can make a case for Kidd.
Well, yeah. I of the list of the people on the list, Harley Cameron, Gabe Kidd,
what did Harley Cameron
Lash,
improve in?
and
You
Oba.
never see her wrestle. She has a personality, but she always had the personality. That's the thing is, we're getting to see it more now, and she's being more diverse with the goofy stuff she's done. But, I mean, how much has she actually wrestled where you could say she's improved? I mean...
Yeah, this person here goes, Bolton Oleg. He's not even on the list. He's not even in honorable mentions. That guy improved a ton. And then Tiffany Stratton's on the list, but she's not improved.
No.
She's exactly where she was a year ago.
She's
exactly.
over.
And
Yeah.
she should have improved more on the main roster, but she hasn't.
Dude,
Anyway.
I'm sorry. She kind of, again, I still think that she hit a level in NXT, and then they brought her up, and she didn't get any better. And on the main roster, she's so over right now that it doesn't matter. But we'll see as she continues to swim through the sharks, whether she makes it where she gets into that Flair, Becky Lynch type of air, or Bianca Belair type of air, because I don't know.
Most charismatic, The Rock. That's over with. The Bryan Danielson Award for Best Technical Wrestler won by Zack Sabre Jr. over Bryan Danielson in his final year.
They both
Which
win
he
that.
should be.
Has anyone else won that award besides those two?
Not for a long time. No one besides those two have won the award since 2005.
Before it was the Bryan Danielson Award.
2005 with Chris Benoit was the last time someone other than Bryan Danielson or Zack Sabre Jr. won. Bruiser Brody, Best Brawler Award. Hangman, fine with that. Ishii, Gabe Kidd, Jon Moxley. I mean, they all should have gotten a lot of votes.
Gabe Kidd, I like, yeah.
Gabe Kidd, yeah. Best Flying Wrestler, Will Ospreay. Sure.
Sure.
Most Overrated. Nia
Just
Jax won.
Being mean here, guys.
Nia
Come on.
Jax.
Come on. Some people would say she's the most improved because she didn't kill anybody, and her matches got a little bit better.
She had some good matches with the right people, but she still sucked. The most overrated on this list, I hate to say it, but I mean, and it's actually not his fault. It's their fault because they booked him this way for some reason, but it's Solo Sikoa. That's the actual answer. I mean, they just kept trying to push that guy, but in booking, it was like he always was a geek. It was always Jacob Fatu saving him. Like, they never gave him any credibility.
You know what? That's what saves him here is the fact that the act is so over and there's Jacob. So if you slag Solo, I think in some people's minds you slag the whole thing. But if some of those guys weren't around, I mean, Solo wouldn't be in the position he's in.
Then we got most underrated, which is Takeshita, which I disagree with.
Underrated?
Particularly the last 6 months of the year.
Underrated.
I mean, how is Takeshita more underrated than the Beast Mortos, for example? Who's like incredibly over and he never ever wins. Takeshita's a champion right now. He's being pushed in AEW and New Japan. I mean, I don't get that one. But that was the votes. Rookie of the Year, Javon Evans. Thank you.
Sure.
Best non-wrestler, Paul Heyman. He beat Don Callis by almost double. That was second place, followed by Prince Nana, and someone who should have gotten more votes is Renee. She was a gem.
You could say that every year she's been in this business, she deserves more. Doesn't matter where she is.
Best TV announcer, Nigel. Some people really don't like Nigel. I am wildly entertained by Nigel.
I like Nigel a lot. I think he can be a little too cheeky and popping himself and making jokes a little too much sometimes. But I'm sorry. I mean, he and Taz make Excalibur better. They make Tony Schiavone better. In some cases, tolerable when it comes to those guys. I mean, I wish they would shake it up where we would have Ian and Nigel and maybe Taz in there too, and then every once in a while a manager in there, because when MVP and Callis jump on that microphone, they're the best thing on it, and they shouldn't be, because they should be working as managers at ringside.
Okay, now we get into the fun ones here, because the worsts, okay? So the worst television announcer was won by Booker T. Second place, Pat McAfee. And then Jim Ross, Excalibur, Daddy Magic, etc., etc. So here's the thing with Booker T, everybody. Okay? There honestly aren't really bad announcers anymore, for the most part. Okay? Everyone's either fine to good. Booker T is one of those guys where when he's on, he adds a great deal of entertainment to the show for me, okay?
Yes.
But when he is off,
it's even more entertaining for me.
He can actively ruin the show, okay?
Well.
And there's nobody else on this list, maybe McAfee sometimes. Sometimes McAfee gets a little nutty. But, like, you know, Jim Ross never actively ruins a show for me. Excalibur never actively. Daddy Magic, Corey Graves, Shivani. Cole, a little bit. I'm like, dude, come on, brother.
Cole?
He still bothers me here and there. But, I mean, Booker is the only one who really can actively ruin the show. So I'm fine with him winning worst television announcer, but there are days, everyone, when he is the best television announcer. But it just depends on who, what, when, where, why, and how.
I am greatly entertained by Booker T.
And we had the best major wrestling show, which, these bests and such, it's like this is what everyone is using to justify their hatred of AEW or WWE winning awards. So AEW Revolution won the best major wrestling show. WrestleMania won the second. So, there were a lot of AEW shows on this, but there were 3 WWE shows in the top 10. There was a Stardom show there. So, there were a lot of good shows last year from all companies. And, AEW had more in the top 10, but it wasn't like nobody else had a great show. And that brings us to the worst major show, which, again, people bring up. Oh, well, how come WWE had some? Well, because you have to vote for the worst show. Now, Triple Mania ran away with it. Triple Mania on April 27th, 485 votes. That actually might have been a legitimately bad show. But,
Might?
A lot of these shows, WWE Crown Jewel, SummerSlam, King and Queen of the Ring, Survivor Series. Dude, I was at Survivor Series. Dude, I was there, okay? Survivor Series this year, that wasn't a bad show. I had a great time at Survivor Series. Thought it was a good show. But you have to vote for X number of worst shows.
Well, here's the thing, too. I abhor the Saudi shows. I hate them, and I don't watch them. But here's the thing. If you don't like the concept, then you don't watch. But to me, I doubt people are voting that way. They're voting for the fact that it's in Saudi Arabia as opposed to probably it being the worst show because, from all what you talked about and what we've, the reviews of those shows, they weren't that bad compared to some of these other ones.
Well, I want to do one more category after the break because I just got to talk about it. Back in a moment, Observer Live.
There's 1, 2. Now he's got Bryan Alvarez. He whips him into the corner hard. Adam Firestorm following up, catches a boot to the face. Bryan Alvarez with another hard shot to the head. 1, 2. This is the most aggressive I've seen Bryan Alvarez today here in Portland Wrestling. Now he's got his knee across the throat. He's choking him, LC.
Well, it's like this week Alvarez has something to prove, brother. Something to prove to his sweet little lady over there.
Of course, Adam Firestorm with a big win over Black Dragon last week. Looking for another one here. There's a sunset flip. Is he going to go down? Yes, he is. Over he goes. 1, 2, 3. It is all over. Adam Firestorm with the victory over beautiful Bryan Alvarez here in Portland Wrestling. Now out Bryan Alvarez firing away with a boot. Action continues after the bell. Goes for the back body drop. No! Face first plant by Adam Firestorm. Your winner once, looks like he'll be your winner twice. Action continues. There's a whip into the far corner. Adam Firestorm follows with a spinning kick. LC, I think Bryan Alvarez has bit off more than he could chew tonight. Miss Rentone really disgusted over in the corner. Adam Firestorm not done. There's a Lion's Hold on top. He hooks him again. 1, 2. 2.5. I thought we had a 3 count earlier in this match, LC. I was wrong.
I can't believe it. I thought Youth Gone Wild was just adding a little salt to the wound. I thought Alvarez was Alvarez and a 2-time loser, brother.
Well, Mark Watson's hand must have stopped just short of the 3 count. And these eyes of mine need glasses because I thought I saw a 3 count Bryan Alvarez going up top.
Oh, well, forget about your cataracts, brother. Up and over he goes.
Nobody home. Adam Firestorm back in control, playing a bit of possum. He's climbing up top. Miss Rento and Otto really upset. There he goes. Swamp
oh, and that one hit.
There's a hook the leg. 1, 2, 3. Now it's all over.
A 2-time loser. And does the LC have to look after Miss Rento and Otto tonight, baby?
There's Adam Firestorm, your winner in this match. Once, twice, 3 times, it didn't matter. Bryan Alvarez not up to it. Miss Rento and Otto absolutely disgusted with it. Mark Watson explaining to him it was a 3 count this time. No hook the leg. Fair and square, Adam Firestorm, your winner here on Portland Wrestling. Fans will be right back with after a message from our sponsors.
See, this last one here. I've been watching wrestling for a long time, brother. Worst match of the year, the winner was Jimmy versus Jey Uso at WrestleMania.
Wait a second.
Stop, okay?
Really?
This is a classic example of WWE's like the biggest promotion. This was the biggest show. This match was a disappointment. It doubled second place.
If you want to call it biggest disappointment, that's fine.
Yes, this was nowhere near. This was a 8-minute below average match, maybe a star and a half, whatever. It was not the worst match of the year.
Watch that Triple Mania show.
Not only that, bro. Number 2 here, Kota Ibushi and Naomichi Marufuji. Brother, dude, that match was horrific. Absolutely god-awful, freaking atrocious. Everybody involved profusely apologized for it.
Literally.
That match was terrible, okay? Terrible. And I know, like, I saw matches, they were admittedly rare. But, hey, no, there was actually...
Didn't you wrestle this year?
AEW shouldn't have the worst match, but don't you guys remember that House of Black? Remember the House of Black and it was like Commander?
Yes.
Dude, that match was horrible.
It's hilarious.
But somehow Jimmy versus Jay at WrestleMania won the worst match of the year. Come on. I saw matches in NXT that were like, I mean, come on. Terrible.
Hey, look. Hey, if you're out there and you can get a podcast out of us talking about this or Dave, the awards, go ahead. Make some content and do your thing about it. But if you're actually really hurting about these things, I don't know what to tell you. There's a big world out there. Go get you some of it, please. And also, worst gimmick, the learning tree. Come on. Well, I was right. Did you guys watch the story of the Heritage Cup in NXT in 2024 and 2025? That's the worst thing ever in the history of wrestling, I've decided. The Heritage Cup, just terrible. Anyway, we're out of time. Hey, that was a fun Friday. We're out of here. Have a happy Valentine's Day. Talk to you next time, Wrestling Observer Live.